What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It is me, Jello, the Casual Card Gamer, and today we're going to be looking at one of the 3 Dragon Empire decks that are available, and from the title of this video, you can already tell which one it is. It is Dragonic Overlord, and I have very bad memories when it comes to playing against this deck, and its overdress equivalent has started to bring those bring those memories back, albeit not as much, but it is understandable considering that it is an encounter card deck. So we'll have to see in the future. Same thing with the Phantom Blaster Dragon deck that we did last week, if they'll be getting any more support. But so far, this is what I've come up with, and I'm feeling this one a little bit more than the Phantom Blaster one. So let's get straight into the deck profile. Okay, so first things first, of course, we have our Ride deck. We have Lizard Runner Undo, 1/2. If you go second, draw a card. Next, we have Embodiment of Armor Bar. So this unit's ability is, when it is rode upon by Nahallum, you can counterblast 1, and you basically get to Conroe. That was one of the very first comments about this card. It has a Lizard Soldier Conroe's ability to let you search for any grade 1 in your deck. So if you wanted a perfect guard, you can get one of those. If you wanted to get something to fill your field up with, you can get one of those. And Bar's second ability is, once per turn when your Vanguard hits, he gets plus 5,000, so he becomes a 13k booster. And with Overlord's ability to auto slap a rear guard, this is almost always guaranteed to happen. I say almost always because there are a couple of things that can get in the way of Overlord doing stuff against a rear guard. Next, we have Nahallum, Dragon Knight Nahallum. So his ability is, when he's rode upon by Overlord, you can call him out to a rear guard circle. And from the rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Overlord in his name, then you can Soul Blast 1, and this unit and your Overlord get plus 5,000, which is really nice because he does pump himself up to 15, and he does get Overlord to minimum 18k by itself. And the Dragon of the Week, we have Dragonic Overlord. Overlord's first ability is, during the battle that it attacks a rear guard, your opponent can't guard from their hand. They are still able to use orders. So against Stoicheia, there are a couple things like Ghost Chase that allow your opponent to bounce cards off of their field. But for anything else, Overlord can just automatically slap a rear guard. And that plays in well to his second ability, which is, when he hits, once per turn, counterblast 1, discard a card. You can stand him, and he gets -1 drive check, which is pretty good. The on-hit clause does make it a little more difficult to pull off, but of course this is a vision of the original Dragonic Overlord, who had to counterblast 3 before doing that. So this is really nice, and just getting those 3 drive checks per turn and an extra Vanguard attack is really good, especially if your opponent doesn't have the tools to guard their rear guards during an Overlord attack. So that's nice. Moving in to the main deck, we have 3 copies of Dragonic Overlord. For the rest of our grade 3s, we don't play any other grade 3s in this deck because the options are not the best, at least from my perspective. I don't know if there's anything else that you would want to play with Dragonic Overlord. If you guys play anything else, let me know down in the comments and I'll try it out sometime. But we do play 3 more copies of Overlord. Next, moving into the grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Berserk Dragon, and 3 more copies of Dragon Knight Nahallum, and 2 copies of Somophagy Dragon Hungersaurus. Now we'll start from left and go into the right. So we start with Berserk Dragon. Now the reason we play 4 of these is because as long as your Vanguard is Overlord, it's a 15k attacker. So even if you have nothing behind it, you're still able to hit your opponent's Vanguard as long as they haven't gotten any defensive triggers. But the second ability on top of that is, when it attacks, you get +5 if your Vanguard is an Overlord. Then you can counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or lower rear guards and retire it. So that's really good for just for spot removal for your opponent's field. Just make it a little more annoying for them to have to fill it up again. And next we have Dragonic Nahallum, who we already talked about in the Ride deck. And next we have Samophagy Dragon Hungersaurus. So this is the second new support card from the Festival Collection for Dragon Empire. So for anyone who doesn't know what this card's ability is, it's during your turn, this unit gets +5, and if your opponent has a rear guard in the front row, then it can't attack a Vanguard, which is not too much of a problem, because unless your opponent is also rushing you early, this thing will come down as a 15k attacker, and you can put anything behind it, and it'll be at least 15 to guard, which is really nice. And that is it for our grade 2s. I did want to make sure that the grade 2s are able to at least step up to grade 3s in terms of power, if even if they had no boosters. So that's the reasoning behind that. The next we have our grade 1s. So we have our 4 Twin Buckler Dragons, 4 copies of Stealth Dragon Togachi-Rashi, and 3 copies of Tenchested, and 4 copies of Dragon Monk Gojo, and 3 more copies of Bar. So perfect guards are perfect guards. Togachi-Rashi's ability is when you discard him during your turn, you can put him into your soul, and this works really well with being able to spam Nahallum skill. If you have 2 Nahallums in the front row, you can just go off with those. And if you're constantly persona riding, which you can start to do with Tenchested, then your front row gets even better in terms of numbers. So that is Togachi-Rashi. Next we have Tenchested. So this card is from D-BT01. His ability is when the attack that it boosted hits, you can counterblast 1, retire the unit, choose your rear guard, choose your Vanguard, and search for 1 copy of your Vanguard in your deck and add it to your hand, which is really nice. So you're able to just persona ride for the next turn, and persona riding with Dragonic Overlord is really, really good because you make his rear guard attack, or if you wanted to go for a double Vanguard attack that turn, then makes it a little more annoying to guard. And next we have Dragon Monk Gojo. We play 4 copies. I'm a little iffy about this. I did do a couple of shadow plays, and I didn't use Gojo as much as I thought I was going to need to, but Gojo's ability is when the Vanguard's attack hits that it boosted, retire this unit and countercharge 1. So he is the only countercharger in the deck besides healing. And then we of course have the other 3 copies of Bar for 13k boosters, or potential 13k attackers or 23k attackers on a persona ride turn. So that is it for our grade 1s. And last but not least, we go into the triggers. Now the triggers were a little tricky for me, but I did land on something that I think works really decent with the way that I built the deck. So first, of course, we have our copy of Dragon Deity, King of Resurgence, Dragveda. It is Dragonic Overlord, the Overtrigger. So when you drive check it, you get to restand your Vanguard, which is really nice because that's all this deck wants to do. And next we have 4 crits, 4 fronts, 3 draws, and 4 heals. Now the reason that I made it this way is because front triggers are I love front triggers. I've always loved stand triggers. Always love front triggers. Anybody who's been watching more than one of these deck profiles knows that. But crits are always really good with a restanding Vanguard because it adds pressure. Front triggers because you want to have things in your front row to attack with. And with everything being able to attack a grade 3 Vanguard by itself, it becomes a lot more worth to run front triggers because then it forces out an extra 10k guard regardless. And then our draw triggers, because restanding Vanguards getting -1 drive checks, it's always nice to have a draw trigger in the mix to potentially mitigate that -1 drive check, and of course our 4 heals. And that is it for this week's deck profile. Stay tuned for the live deck test stream later tonight, and I'll be using this, and we'll hopefully do as well as we did with Phantom Blaster. But yeah, guys, that is it from me. Make sure that you like the video and subscribe. Tell your friends if you think that they'll enjoy what we got going on right over here. I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyway, thank you so much, and yeah, I am Jelly the Casual Card Gamer. Take care.